And welcome into Fantasy Football with Corey and Kyle. Join us as we spin the wheel to choose two running backs for a game of Would You Rather. And before we get started with the game, I'd like to invite you over to fantasyfootballadvice.com where you can see all of the videos and articles and podcasts from our team of about 20 creators. And then you can also join our private community where you can gain private access to us and ask questions and get your questions answered and post polls and just have a good time and hang out and talk ball 24/7. Download the mobile app, have it at your fingertips at all times. I almost said have us at your fingertips at all times, but
giggity.
All right, Kyle, you ready to spin that wheel and pick some running backs?
Let's spin it.
All right, let me get over here. Let's reset the wheel and let's get our first running back for the show. Maybe. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Technology. Gotta love it. Alvin Kamara. Okay. Now let's reset it. Alvin Kamara and
Littering and
sheesh. Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon.
That is an interesting comparison.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Oh, man. Let's talk about Mixon first.
Okay.
Because I'm a Mixon fan. Obviously, we're Sooner fans. But I was a little surprised by how well he did in Houston this year. Very pleasant surprise. Had a great year. I'm a little concerned with them dealing Laramie Tunsil away now to the Commanders.
Yeah, for real.
So, because they were horrible. That was when they had Damian Pierce. That was their biggest hole. Was their offensive line was horrible. They do a little bit of improving there, bring in Joe Mixon, and now they're going to demolish this O-line again. That has me a little concerned. Joe Mixon is a far better runner than Damian Pierce, though. So
yes.
But as far as Joe Mixon had a great year, and I think he could do it again next year. I love Joe Mixon. I try to keep my bias out of it, but
it's hard to do, though.
It is. He's so good. It's probably one of the healthiest seasons he's had in a while, too, which is nice.
Well, you say that, but he did miss 3 games.
Still
he missed
healthiest
4 and 5.
I feel like he missed half the season with the Bengals every year.
Yeah, but finishing number 17 overall running back with missing 3 weeks on an offense that really wasn't clicking like it was the year before isn't horrible, and from what I've read, they were having some locker room issues maybe in Houston, so maybe they're getting some of that worked out in this offseason now, so that could also help that team as a whole. So I'm curious to see what that does for him. When we first spun the wheel and got Alvin Kamara, I was like, oh, okay, his age will play into this comparison. And then we got Joe Mixon. Alvin Kamara's 29. Joe Mixon's 28. So he's been around for a little while too, but still producing at a very high level, which is great. And also then you mentioned Damian Pierce. That's really his only competitor for touches.
Yeah.
So he's getting a lot of touches.
One of the rare fantasy workhorses for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at his touches, and there's many games. First game out was 30 attempts rushing with 3 targets. Huge game there. But there's multiple games in here where he had 25, 25, 24, 25, 20, 20. Oh, we had a glitch there. Let's bring Kyle back in. Weird. So we had all these touches in the 20s, that's a huge count. Not to mention then his targets, where he probably averaged in most games, he had around 4 to 6 targets. I'd say he probably averaged about 5 targets a game, which is incredible.
Yes. Yeah, it's always nice when you get those running backs involved in the passing game.
100%.
Fantasy purpose, since PPR is basically standard scoring at this point in fantasy.
Agreed. And on top of all of that, I think CJ Stroud's going to have a better season. I think he had a little bit of a rough sophomore year. The expectations were so high after such a spectacular freshman year. I mean, everything just kind of came together year one, year two, a little bit of a struggle. It happens. Obviously, they call it a sophomore slump for a reason, because it obviously happens very often to players. I think he bounces back from that. They got a great coach there that'll bring him back out of it. I'm feeling pretty confident in Joe Mixon this coming season.
Well, and there was a little bit of a coaching, play calling shift this last year too. Stroud's, rookie year, they're throwing the ball all over the yard because the run game is 100% ineffective.
Yeah.
This year they get a running back, their line's blocking. They ran the ball a whole lot more. So it wasn't necessarily so much Stroud wasn't playing well. It just he wasn't being leaned on to throw the ball as much. I think they'll find that balance and be a little more pass heavy. I mean, they're still got a great, stable of wide receivers. So I don't see Stroud doing as poorly, but I don't see any reason either why Mixon can't stay pretty close to that same volume next year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He had 245 rushing attempts for 1,016 yards. He averaged 4.15 yards per carry, had 11 touchdowns. He had 52 targets with 36 receptions, 309 yards, and 1 touchdown receiving. So not too shabby. Don't hate that at all.
No, not at all.
Okay, let's jump over to Alvin Kamara, who, I mentioned it already. He's 29, and they had kind of a rough season on the offensive side of the ball this past season, especially when all the injuries started taking place. And everyone had thought that was going to hurt him in his performance, and he stayed strong. He finished as the number 9 running back, even though he didn't play the final 3 games of the season, and still finished as the number 9 running back overall. Now they have Kellen Moore coming in. So all things to be considered there. What are you thinking of Alvin Kamara this year?
I think he could do even better this year because Kellen Moore comes in. He likes to throw the ball around. So I really think those targets, those catches, it's going to stay at or even maybe possibly have room to move up. When you look at his touchdowns on the season, though, he finished number 9. He had 6 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns. Like, there's a very good chance those are both going to increase next year.
Yep.
So he could do even better next year. Now, you got it. It's under the wire. Like you said, he's 29. He's got another probably elite year or 2 left. Depends on if he goes the way of Derrick Henry or not, I guess. That guy's a freak. But, being more of a space running back, I think he can last a little bit longer than someone pounding up the middle, taking hits constantly. So, I still see room for improvement there. And I think Kellen Moore coming in as a head coach with offensive mentality only improves those chances.
Well, it looks like they're also going to have most of their starting lineup back. And with the exception of possibly Taysom Hill being let go in this offseason, which could be really good for Alvin Kamara, honestly. It could open up more of those goal line carries. Also, Derek Carr, we got to see Spencer Rattler come in and actually perform quite decent as a backup. So if Carr goes down, I'm not really concerned about Spencer Rattler coming in and ruining anything for Kamara. I think Kamara was still producing pretty dang good with Spencer Rattler. So there's not a lot of fears or question marks around that sort of thing if Derek Carr continues to get injured, and miss time, because he missed quite a bit of time this last year, and it did not hurt Kamara. So overall, I'm actually feeling pretty good about Kamara. I think everyone thought he was going to hit a wall this last year and proved everyone wrong.
Well, because he looked kind of rough in 23.
He did.
So it had people going into drafts this last year very down on him. And the people that took the chance, it paid off.
Well, honestly, it was in 22 and 23. He had kind of down years for Alvin Kamara in both. Finishing in 22, he finished at 16th overall. In 23, at 11th overall. He kind of had low touchdown counts, and it looked like he was kind of falling off. And he rose back up this year and did better. So yeah. So kind of proving people wrong. I don't think he'll ever get back to his 2020 or 2018 double-digit rushing touchdown counts, but it is what it is. 2020, he was just
maybe receiving though. I don't think we'll get to double-digit receiving, but double-digit overall touchdowns is well within reach.
Yeah, I think that's actually probably
he had eight overall touchdowns this year. He could get double digits there easy.
I think double digits overall is probable.
And if he stays healthy and doesn't miss 3 games, he could finish as a top 5 running back next year.
Yep. I'm just looking at, looking at Kellen Moore coming over, and you saw how they were using Saquon Barkley this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me pretty excited. I mean, he's obviously going to know how to use a good running back like that. So I'm feeling good about that. Okay.
I don't think we'll see any reverse hurdles, though.
No, I don't think we'll see many of those ever from almost anyone. Okay. So now that we've talked about both of them, now we got to talk about which one would you rather have? And we can talk on that on both a redraft and a dynasty level of which one you would like to have. I'm trying to decide who I would rather have.
Well, do you want to do redraft or dynasty first?
First, let's do redraft. Let's talk redraft first, and we'll go on the counter. We'll go, don't do it yet. We'll go 1, 2, 3, go, and you'll either hold up a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, you tricked me last week with that. So
I did. So Joe Mixon will be 1, Alvin Kamara will be 2, and we'll just hold up who we would rather have in redraft. All righty?
Is this the real one? This is the real one?
This is the real one. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, show.
Ooh, okay. We disagree.
Yeah, we disagree.
So, you want to go first, or shall I?
No, go ahead.
I'm taking Kamara for all the reasons I just said. The receptions are going to outnumber Mixon's and PPR. That's gold. I think his touchdowns will go up. I love Kamara. He's elite. As long as he stays healthy, this guy's going to be elite. It's close between these two, honestly. It's not like a wide margin, but I think at least for one more year, I'm still taking Kamara over Mixon. Yeah,
I mean, this was a really hard decision, honestly. What it came down to for me was scoring opportunities. I feel like, especially with Joe Mixon, there's a lot of goal line carry opportunities, and touchdowns are touchdowns, right? I mean, he scored 11 rushing touchdowns this year, and that offense is good. Let's just be honest. And they play in a weak division where they play some weaker teams. They're going to be ahead more probably. So I just like his scoring opportunities better. And that's really what it came down for me. But on the flip side, Kamara, they probably have to throw to keep up. And maybe he's getting a lot.
For me, I think it's Kellen Moore coming in there. I think he improves that offense as a whole too.
I agree.
So it'll be interesting to see. But
definitely.
They are very close for me in redraft.
I agree. Okay. Well,
they're close for me in Dynasty too. But
yeah, you want to do a Dynasty vote real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. All right. I figured we'd both do
that. Go with Mixon in Dynasty.
The 1 year makes a difference.
It does. The year and age makes a difference for
Yep.
sure.
I mean, Kamara's about to turn 30. He'll actually be 30 at the start of next season. So he's an old 29,
Yeah.
So in Dynasty, these are tough decisions you have to make in Dynasty, right? Like, it's going to be so hard unless you're contending. But if you're contending, you probably want to keep Kamara and Joe Mixon. But if I'm having to choose between the two, I'm going with Joe Mixon. The age, and then, of course, the same. This season, I think he outperforms Kamara.
In a vacuum, I want Joe Mixon in Dynasty. When you start talking about like running backs 28 and up, you're looking for just that little bit of extra time to trade him away before he hits that wall.
Yeah.
Him being 28 instead of the old 29 Kamara gives you an extra year. Let him rack up some numbers, ship him off, and see what you can give for him. However, in a situation where I think I've got a chance to win this year, I'm going to hang on to Kamara for that year. I'm going to make a run. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Maybe, you should, if he has a good year like I'm anticipating he will, you should be able to still get something for him at the end of the year. Might not be quite as much as you would this year, but if you got a shot at that ship, I mean, you got to go for it. That's why we play the game,
Yep. And these running backs, and we kind of called this when they start coming on, there's a lot more timeshare running backs, right? And it's extending the life of these running backs. Before 28, 29, these running backs were done. It was like, no way, right? Their career was done at 27 because they're just getting the hell beat out of them.
About 3 solid years out of them, and then they're hitting that wall already.
And now you've got this timeshare, and it's extending their careers by a few more years because they're not taking that beating every play.
The only 2 exceptions to that rule are Adrian Peterson and Derrick Henry. They're freaks of nature.
Very true. Very true. Those guys don't count. They're not even human. But for small, like guys like Kamara, who's more shifty and not like a power guy, a big power guy, I feel like it helps him a lot. He's not taking a 100%. Lot of hard, direct hits straight up the middle all the time. They're getting him out in space. Mm-hmm. He's taking those glancing blows, and I think it's helping extend his career. And so that age, while it matters, it doesn't matter quite as much.
Well, and that's why you're seeing teams like the Lions are the perfect formula, right?
Yep.
You got Monty taking all the shots, and then you got Gibbs who's going to play forever because he's just out in space, right? So, like you said, the ones that can do that are the ones that are extending careers. And so looks like the Bills are maybe trying to do the same with James Cook, let Ray Davis run up the middle a little bit. Teams like that. So they figured it out. They figured out the formula that way. Not everybody has the volume that the Lions do, but they're starting to figure out how to pair up these running backs to do that.
It's going to start making fantasy more and more tricky. That's for sure.
Yeah. All those running back purists out there that it's like there's going to be fewer and fewer and eventually no running backs in the first round because they're all in a timeshare.
Yep.
We're almost there already.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, Monty and Gibbs are the exception to that rule, too, because they're both basically RB1s in the same offense, which is wild.
Along with they have a stud tight end and a stud wide receiver, actually stud wide receiver and a really good wide receiver. Somehow that whole offense eats every week, which is pretty impressive. So, there are definitely exceptions to the rule. Maybe we'll do a video on that sometime.
Maybe we should.
Alrighty, guys, that will conclude our spin of the wheel. Would you rather for running backs this week? Just drop in the comments what position you want us to do next. We've already done wide receivers. We've done running back now. You want us to do QB or tight end? Just let us know, and we'll do it next time. See you guys.
See you next week.